Hello, I'm Yvonne from Somerset Libraries and welcome to episode 4 of Taunton Library Gardening Club. Today I thought we'd thin out some seedlings that I've got in the vegetable garden, do a bit of maintenance on some succulent plants and cut back some aubrietia plants that I've got here. But first I'd like to show you some things, the results of some things we did in previous episodes. Now, if Archie would excuse me. Here is the coriander that we sowed a couple of weeks ago. So you can see it's coming up nicely now. And here are some of the French beans we sowed in our first episode, which was 3 weeks ago. And they're ready for putting out soon. So it all does work. But first of all, while we're here, I think I'll show you we'll cut back the aubrietia plants that I've got here. Well, this is aubrietia and it's a lovely colourful flower that comes out late spring, and as you can see it grows on walls and it's really nice, but it's all finished now, so we're going to cut it back and with a bit of luck it will have a second flush of flowers. So just trim it back with some shears quite tightly. Get rid of all the dead stuff and then it should put on some new growth. And as I said, you'll probably get a second flush of flowers. So that looks much tidier now, and in a few weeks it'll start coming back. Here we are up in the vegetable garden, and these are beetroot seedlings that I sowed a few weeks ago. And as you can see, they're fairly close together. They're going to be rolled on as well in a minute. So what we're going to do now is thin them out. So all that means is just pull out the plants, leaving about 2 inches between each one, the ones that you leave. So it seems a bit brutal, but it is necessary, otherwise they won't get a chance to develop. Just pull them out like that. And they're not wasted either, because you can eat these in salads. They're fine, they're really nice. I'll demonstrate. It's fine. Very nice. Well, now they've all been thinned. They do look a bit sorry for themselves, but with a nice drink, they'll soon perk up. Succulents are a group of plants that are very popular at the moment, and deservedly so. They come in a huge range of interesting shapes and textures, and they're easy to look after. Some of them can stay outside all winter, but none of them like being very wet. But most of them need to be indoors, at least in the winter, but you can always put them out in the summer. Now, this is an echeveria, and echeverias are a popular succulent, but they do get a bit tatty after a year or so, and they need tidying up. And as you can see, they produce rosettes. And these rosettes can be taken off and planted up, and they'll have new plants, and that's what I'm going to do now. So you need to cut off one of the rosettes with a sharp knife or secateurs. And then you can see it's got lots of dead leaves there. So we take those off. And trim up so it's got a stem of about 1 inch or so, like that. Now, before we pot this up, this has to be left for about a week or so it sort of calluses over. That means it's a hard skin grows over the wound that you've just made. That's because that minimises the risk of rotting and infection. But in true Blue Peter fashion, here's some I've done earlier. So in these pots here, I've got a mix of compost mix, which is 50-50 general purpose compost and grit, topped with some potting grit. So what I'm going to do is just make a hole in that compost and pop in the rosette cutting. And the leaves are just above the grit there. Well, you can repeat that with all the rosettes of the plant, including the main stem. That gives it a new lease of life, really. Now, this is an echeveria, but there are other rosette-forming succulents, and you can do the same with those as well. The important thing is, as well, as I've said, is make sure they dry off before you plant them to minimise the risk of rot. So if you leave these in a nice warm, airy place, they should root and start growing within about 3 weeks, but don't cover them, because if you cover them in a plastic bag like you often do other cuttings, they could rot because of the humidity. Just giving them a drop of water, and in a few weeks we'll have some new plants. And I do like succulents because, as well as really making really good house plants, they make lovely displays outside as well in the summer, which makes a bit of a change from, say, bedding plants or something like that. There we go. Well, that's it for this week. Thank you for joining me. And don't forget, we've got full digital copies of gardening magazines, and other magazines of course, available for library members, and they're all free of charge. Details are on our website. Do let us know what you think via our social media platforms, and please like, share and follow as you think fit. So that's all for now, and I hope you'll join me next week. Goodbye.